I got talking probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I had you guys turn to Genesis 1:1, and then I probably just totally left it there and never explained why. So I'm going to finish up that message from about 4 weeks ago. No, I did have something I wanted to talk about. This is actually new. I was thinking about it here, I don't know, a few days ago when I was getting ready for my message, and I said, there was one time I think I had everybody turn to Genesis 1:1. I never explained why. So I'm going to go into a few things today. And some of this actually has a lot to do with what we talked about last week. What I talked about last week. I answered a lot of questions. I wanted to make clear some of the things that I believe, so then, some people who listen to me or some people that have their ideas or whatever, because sometimes it's easy to get categorized or whatever, and you're kind of thrown into a certain category where people judge you based upon that. And I wanted to make clear what I believed and what I saw, with what we do here is, this is my ministry, this is what I feel like God wants me to do. And plus, one of the things I'm noticing has become such a popular just topic, or something that people, it comes up over and over and over again. And it's the idea that God wants you to enjoy life here. That God meant for us to have a good life here on this earth. And the first thing I got to say, I have to kind of really think about this, because I never really thought that way. I never really thought that God wanted me to have some bad life, and that, my salvation was just about going to heaven, and that's it, And I thought, well, if that's the case, then basically when we get people saved, we should just shoot them, Maybe it's just about people going to heaven, That's God's whole purpose. And I started thinking, how would I figure out, and just follow me with this for a second, how would I figure out what God's perfect plan was for this earth? I mean, how would I really get back and say, okay, we get all religiousized and all this different stuff, and we got all these different doctrines and things, and you hear from this church person or that person, but really, what was the original purpose of God? I mean, what did He intend when He made the earth and made man? I mean, really, it's that whole question, what's the meaning of life? Why did God make me? I mean, it's one of those questions that are so common, but I think a lot of times Christians don't take the time to think about it. They think, oh, it's because He wanted me to come to heaven. Well, no, that's not. That's not the main reason God made you. God didn't just make it. If He wanted people in heaven, He could have made people in heaven. Right? I mean, seriously, it's God. If God wanted a bunch of humans running around in heaven, that was His whole purpose, He could have made a bunch of humans running around heaven. That wasn't His purpose. Now, let's get back to His purpose. You guys are on Genesis 1:1. What's it say right there in Genesis 1:1? Y'all got Bibles? No? Maybe? All right. I was going to do the whole shake the Bible to devil thing. I heard somebody say that. I was like, oh, that's a cool thing. I don't know where I heard that at, but I thought it was cool. You guys should probably have this memorized. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? Now, I'm going to say this. What I'm going to go over here for the next, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I don't want to, because I definitely want you guys to stay up with me. If I have to, I can break this up. And another thing, just so you guys know, next week Bud's going to be preaching. So I kind of do have to do as much as I can in one message, because Bud's going to preach something different probably. Unless he wants to preach my message, that's fine. So, okay. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There are two ways that you can look at what I'm going to talk about here. Number one, some people believe that Genesis 1 and 2 is a allegory and a myth that was basically made to explain how we came about. That it was the Jewish myth of creation. All right? So there's one school of thought you can have in this. That this is all an allegory. None of this is literal. Everything is just, this is the way that we're going to try to explain this complicated thing called life. Or you can believe that this is really true, and that God really did this, and God really said this, and God really did what He said here in Genesis 1 and 2. Well, I believe that. I believe that God literally created the heavens and the earth. He didn't create it out of nothing. Hebrews says He created it from faith. All right? So God didn't just make something out of nothing like that. He spoke and the world came about. It says that through faith we understand. Okay. So I believe that God created the heavens for man and the earth for man. The Genesis 1:1 wasn't the beginning. It was beginning for us, but it wasn't like the beginning of all time. The beginning of time in this universe maybe, but not for God. God was before this. In the beginning, God. There was God in the beginning. He was there before this. So there were other things that were going on that you couldn't even imagine. None of us could. Things that God was doing. Now, what's pertinent to us? Genesis 1:1. Okay, now God's dealing with us. This universe, this solar system, this planet, this place right now. And He makes the heavens and the earth. You know what's amazing? follow me here for a second. God made the earth for man. His original purpose was for us to live, to enjoy, to prosper here on earth. That was God's original plan. All right? I want you to follow me on this. God, you know why the earth is so beautiful? I mean, seriously, why is it that you can go up in the mountains and it's gorgeous? I mean, you take pictures of it, doesn't even matter. You know, you go to the ocean, you go to all these different places that are just gorgeous. They're beautiful, they're majestic, they're amazing. Why is that? Because God made it that way. God made the earth. So when you look at the earth, you see God's fingerprint. You see God's design. You see God's, I like this word, taste. Right? Now, when you for instance, a good example. I mean, each of us have our own tastes. We have our own things that we like and dislike. All right? I cannot convince my wife to try Indian food. That's my taste. I love Indian food. Absolutely. I could have ate it all week. I'm not kidding. I just love Indian food. It's just something about sweet and spicy and all that kind of stuff. That's my taste. That's not my wife's taste. She don't like it. All right? Everybody has their own flavor or taste, and their flavor or taste will usually be represented in the way they live. The way that I like to dress, the way that I like to design, my house to look. The things, all of those things show things about me. That, when you take that idea of taste, you look at the earth, that's God's taste. That's what God wanted. Is it in its perfect? No, it's not in its perfection, because it's been destroyed by sin and death. It's been corrupted. It's rotted out. It's still gorgeous. It's still beautiful, but it's not perfect. You see, but you see God's fingerprint. You see God's design. You know what's amazing about earth? I want you to think about this for a second. I'm going to get some deep stuff here, right? If the earth, the earth is 93 million, what is it, 93 million miles or something like that, 93 million miles from the sun, all right? So the earth is 93 million miles from the sun because of the speed that it goes around the sun. Now, if it goes any faster than what it travels around the sun, it would actually get further away. If it went any slower, it would get closer to the sun, right? So in any of those situations, life would not be manageable. It would be too hot or too cold. We are the only planet known to man, and no other planet is known to have life on it. And even some people try to speculate, oh, this moon here, this there, could possibly have life on it. But yet there's no question Earth has life on it. Literally every single niche, every single crack in Earth has some form of life in it. Isn't that amazing? The planet is bursting, is overfilled with life. Yet no other planet that we know of is like that. None. It is perfect for life. Earth is unique. Earth is different than any other planet. It was perfectly made by God for life. I mean, that's just amazing. It's funny. You play that Spore game, and it's funny when you go out, you find a planet, you try to make it manageable for life, and you're trying to do all these different things to it. It might get too hot, too cold, and you have this little chart where you try to get it to try to fit in this little area by doing all these different things. And it's funny because it just kind of makes you realize, when I was doing that, I was like, wow, how hard it is to sustain life, on my own, trying to make this happen through, technology or whatever. But just thinking that God made life, a planet perfect for life, made it perfect. And there's nothing else we know of like that in the known universe.